Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the 16th race of the RLANZ Aldi Cup Series Season number 3 here at Motorsport here in Canada. The first time we've been outside of America this season and the only time as well. And our first race on a road course. I'm joined in the booth by Ozcast.
Hello. It's been a long time since there's been a co-commentator in the booth as well. Another first-ish.
Yeah. So first time this season, that is. So
yeah.
Yep, and it's a very long pace lap, so we'll start it now as we'll go through the starting lineup. Rolling at the bottom of your screen right now. So Isaac Nichols, the 48, starts on the pole for the first time this season, I believe. Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And starting alongside of him is his teammate Dawson Miller in the 5. Behind them on row 2, Cyrus McGee in the 21 and Brandon Bent in the 27. DW Motorsports coming alive after a quiet season so far. Row 3, Jack Pawkins and our last winner, Jake Rogers in the 98. Behind them on row 4, it's Tristan Allen and Pocono winner Dominic Anthony. And on row 5, rounding up the top 10, Henry Gore and Patrick Schamberger. So that's your top 10. And we'll go further afield. Row 6, Kelly Lee and Chase Marks. Those two currently in the chase. On row 7, Benny Watson in the 97 and the 41 of Dan Park. Kind of fallen off out of contention recently, but looking to have a good run today. Row 8, Zachary Fitzwater and one of the only two-time winners, along with Jake Rogers, Simon Nichols. And then on row 9, Reagan Whitlock and Lucifer Sam, both of them 5 points outside the chase coming into this race. And ran at top 20, Zednik Price in the 50, and Matthew Engelram, the points leader. And we've got Tyson Gifford, the Daytona 500 champion, and the All-Star winner, starting 21st. Take a look through the field. Landon Hicks, a chase driver at the moment, starting a bit further back than he would like, 23rd. You go further afield. Bruno de Barros, 4 points outside of the chase grid at the moment. Starting a long way back, 32nd. 34th, Jackson Lynn. He's fairly safe at the moment, but can't afford a bad run today. And then looking further back, Stuart Grant on debut in the 38 car, making one of 3 races he was going to be attempting in his own car. And then starting last, a surprise really, back there, is the 91 car of Julio Caesar, who's been very good this year, but unfortunately ran a bit wide in his qualifying run, and unfortunately that has sent him to the back of the grid. So tough break for him. This should be a very good race here at Canadian Tire. The second time we come to Canadian Tire. The first time was in Season 1, and Josh Crash was the winner of that one, but he DNQ'd this week, so a tough break for him.
And I definitely had that race back in Season 1, not the best race.
Wasn't. But anyways, green flag's out and we're underway, and a great jump for the 5. He jumps out to the lead already. I'm not sure if that's legal. Might have to give the spot up to the 48, but I'm not sure. But anyways, going through the first few turns. So it's Miller from Isaac Nichols, Brandon Bent, Cyrus McGee, Jake Rogers trying to get around the outside of Jack Pawkins, and he's going to be able to, or not yet anyway. The 04 trying to hang on the outside. No wrecks as of yet, so that is good, because typically you see some wrecks here. Single file for the first few cars. Miller looking to pull away from Nichols. He got a good run that time. Brandon Bent and Cyrus McGee went a little slow. And now Jake Rogers trying to get up to 3rd after starting 6th. So good start for the 98. 4 Ford Mustangs in a pack here as the 2 Nicotech Chevys pull away. Oh, a little bit of contact between the teammates there, but Rogers gets by for 3rd. And Pawkins trying to follow. But the first lap will be led by Dawson Miller. And we're getting word that it is legal to do that as long as you don't completely overtake him at the line. And since Nichols was still inside of him and the 5 was not cleared, that is not illegal. So good news for Miller. Otherwise he would have a penalty. So Nichols and Miller pulling away. Then we got Jake Rogers third. Pawkins has got around his teammate Ben. Sorry, his former teammate Ben for 5th. And Cyrus McGee 6th. Tristan Allen, Henry Gore, Dominic Anthony, and Simon Nichols has moved his way into the top 10 in the 24 car. Okay, back here, loose for Sam, 77, Talladega winner. Trying to move his way through the field. You see further up in front, we got a battle here between the 21 and the 27. Cyrus McGee still looking for that first win of the year. And so is Jack Pawkins. Those two were the winningest drivers last season, but neither of them have gotten a win yet. So very surprising. And of course, Pawkins is the driver on the bubble at the moment. He is 16th in points. Anyways, the front three have really pulled away from each other. Well, they're really starting to pull away from each other now. So Dawson Miller looking for his 3rd career win and his 2nd of the season. Nichols looking for his 4th career win and his 2nd of the season. But interestingly, the only drivers, we got an issue here as well, I think, for Jackson Lin. He's way off the pace. It looks like he's got damage on the front, so it looks like he's been involved in a crash somewhere. So it doesn't look like that's triggered a caution, but that's a bad break for Jackson Lin. He did not need that. As already mentioned in the starting lineup, he started a long way back and did not need a bad run. And this is not going to help him. Looks like he's been turned around into the inside wall somewhere. And obviously it hasn't been in the tyre barriers, otherwise he wouldn't have made it back to the pits. Nichols closed in a little bit on the 5 and pulled away from the 98, so he must have got a good run through there. But as I was saying, only one driver has only won 4 or more races, and it's Tristan Allen in the series. 8 wins for him. Everyone else has got 3 or less. So if Nichols or Rogers, or Pawkins for that matter, if one of those 3 guys wins, or many others, they'd become the 2nd most winningest driver in the channel. Oh, sorry, in the series, not the channel. But still Miller pulling ahead. Surprised we haven't had a caution yet. And the 01 has gone back out there, Jackson Lin, but not what he needed. As obviously not returning to full-time racing next season. That was recently announced. Someone's gone wide. Don't think there was a crash or anything, so that's good, as they're a bit crazier back here than they are up front, which is kind of understandable. Got a battle here between Kelly Lee and Reagan Whitlock. And we'll go further afield. Simon Nichols has moved his way up into 8th place after starting 15th, so very good start for the 24.
Looks like they got this car tuned for race, not qualifying.
Yeah. It's like, it's not very good. Because sometimes it, like a track, like, what was it? It was like something like an outside lane, when an outside lane prevails. Typically you see guys on the inside and it's pretty hard to pass. So might need to fix up that qualifying car. But Nichols runs a bit wide. That's going to open the door for Rogers. Rogers looking to become the first driver to go back to back, and there he goes down to the bottom. Long stretch. Still side by side. Good battle here. Nichols has a win here on a road course. Yep, keep going.
Now, who Are the two drivers like 16th and 17th on the chase cutoff, and how many points are between them?
It's 4 points, so it's very interesting. But it's Jack Pawkins who's 16th, and right now the driver who is 17th, I have no idea where he is Bruno de Barros, and there he is at the back. That's going to massively hurt de Barros if he does finish there and if Pawkins finishes there. But the guys who are 18th and 19th in points, and they were both 5 points off Jack Pawkins, but Reagan Whitlock and Lucifer Sam, currently, Sam, where is he right now? I'm just trying to figure this out. So I think Sam right now 12th and 17th for Reagan Whitlock. So it's good for Pawkins. So he's actually going to get around Isaac Nichols now. So Pawkins moves up to third, back to fourth, as we got a little bit of a freeze there for whatever reason. Look at that gap. It's massive for Dawson Miller. While they were all battling for second, third, and fourth, he just ran away with it. Completing lap 6, we're approaching a third of the way through this one. It's been a lot quieter than I thought it would have been. I mean, we did have that issue with Jackson Lynn, but other than that, it's been surprisingly quiet as Julio Caesar still running at the back. Bad news for him. So they're going a little crazy back here. De Barros trying to gain as many positions as he can. Landon Hicks came into this race 11th in points, 37 above the cutoff. But right now he is, that is 31st by the looks of it, and it is. And he started 23rd, so he's been one of the biggest losers out of that. Jackson Lynn also has lost 8 spots. Not really, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the replay yet, so can't really say if it's his fault or not. But Rogers is now pulled away from Pawkins as well, so you don't really want to battle too much, otherwise you're going to lose out a lot.
No, I can't really tell because of classic Skype lag, but are any of, like, for example, like second or third, Rogers and Hawkins catching up to Miller?
Not really. It's still the same margin as it was 2 laps ago. Or between the front two anyway. Pawkins closed in just a teensy-weensy bit on Rogers. It doesn't look like Isaac's car is handling too great either, so because he's falling back a little bit, back to Brandon Bent, who's in 5th. And speaking of another guy who's looks like he has poor handling, that's Cyrus McGee, because he's way slower than the 12 car. So the 12 car was behind him just a few laps ago. So it doesn't look like McGee's car's looking too good either. Oh, we got trouble for Zachary Fitzwater in the 59. He's hit the wall somewhere by the looks of it, as that car's heavy damage. But typically, this is the kind of track that he shines. He traditionally shines at these road courses. But it doesn't look like it's going to be a nice one for him today. Trying to make it back to the pit road. Doesn't look like there was a caution because of it, so I don't know where he's hit the wall. Might be off that final turn, actually. I'm not sure, because typically they don't cause a caution at the final turn. That's a bad break for Fitzwater. There he is. 1 point for the 59. It's really been a tough year for him. And actually for the driver who's sharing the 59 with Andrew Payne as well. Those two guys really struggled in this car. So looking for things to turn around in the future. But anyways, that gap has dropped nearly 2 tenths between the front two, but I don't know if that'd be enough if this thing does go caution free. We do have pit stops in this race, so might help out a little bit. Down the back for Miller. Should be approaching. There is the 59. And Fitzwater, I think he's going to go off the racetrack and he's going to be out of harm's way, so that's good driving there from Fitzwater, very experienced driver. Bad break for him too, obviously, as already mentioned. So Miller doing a good job. Still green at the moment, so obviously we're going to figure out what happened to the 59. So Rogers, the gap stayed the same the last lap, but Porkins has now trimmed the gap between second and third. It's now under a second. So it's getting good here between the front two. It's been fairly boring so far. Oh, we got trouble for DeBarros in the 20.
Oh no.
So more drama as soon as Fitzwater has an issue. Now DeBarros has an issue. And that's bad news for him because he's 4 points behind Porkins and still no caution. Looks like he went through the pit wall there. And typically you don't do it alone at that final turn if you go through the pit wall, so typically you get help. But anyways, we're approaching halfway. That's a bad break for DeBarros, as more points are lost for him now. Been a fairly boring race so far, actually. I'm kind of surprised. Down the front. Nearing halfway. We're now on lap 11 of 21. You can take a look at the entire field as they go by right here. So Miller, massive lead, but Rogers closing a lot. Same with Jack Porkins, he's third. Then Nichols, Bent, Allen, McGee, Nichols, Anthony. Lucifer Sam has moved his way up into the top 10, so good news for the 77. There's Reagan Whitlock, the points leader. Engelram follows. Tyson Gifford's dropped a couple of positions. There's Landon Hicks at the back, bad break for him. There's Julio Caesar, he's at the back too, hasn't made any ground by the looks of it. Oh, we got a caution! It's Jonathan King and Annie Thomas by the looks of it. And it's just those two. So, our first caution of the race, finally. And Miller will lead us back to the line, but yeah, that's a bad break for him because he had a massive lead. That's pretty much gone. So the caution flag is out, and Miller does win the race back from Jake Rogers and Jack Porkins. That's your top three. Let's take a look what happened to a couple of cars. So here's the first accident. This is what happened to Jackson Lynn. He's got the 38 on debut behind. DeBarros runs a little wide. He tries to get to the inside, gets into him, and Grattan finishes the deal off. It turns him into the inside wall, and thankfully did not get turned into the part where it's glitched, where I'm going to show you what happened to Bruno DeBarros. That's a heavy hit, and his day is pretty much over because of that. So, bad break for him. Let's take a look what happened to the 20, and we're going to take a look at the 59 as well, and then what triggered the caution. Zachary Fitzwater here in the number 50 tries to get back to the inside of Watson. Watson leaves him enough space but goes a little too wide, shoves him off the racetrack, and he hits the wall, and unfortunately that has ruined his day. 1 point for the 59. And so he hit the wall very hard, and the 78 slowed down a lot too for whatever reason. I think maybe just trying to avoid the 59. So Fitzwater's day is done, and we got two more incidents to review, and then we'll take you back to the restart. Here's what happened to Barros, and it's going to be a very interesting Monday conversation at South Florida Motorsports because it's his teammate that turns him. And that's where the wall is glitched. And you go through the wall and hit the inside, the very inside, the pit wall. And for DeBarros, that's pretty much ruined his race because that car is heavily damaged now at the rear. It's going to affect his speed, so that's going to hurt him in points a lot too. So unless Porkins or Whitlock or Sam, all three of those guys have something go wrong, it's going to be bad for Bruno DeBarros. But take a look at what actually triggered the caution now. Here's a battle for position between Sidnor and Jonathan King. Goes a little too high, tries to get back onto the racing line, and Annie Thomas is inside, and they both go off. Both of them hit the wall very hard, And that's what's triggered our first caution of the race. Both cars obviously out of this one, and both of them are going to get heavily affected in the points. So bad break for both of them. Didn't really need it. Anyways, we'll take you back to the green now. Coming back to the green here at Canadian Tire, we had some pit stops under the caution, so that's shaked up the order a little bit, but it is still the same top three. It is still Dawson Miller from Jake Rogers and Jack Pawkins. Tristan Allen now moves up into 4th. Simon Nichols now rounding out the top 5. Isaac Nichols in 6th. Lucifer Sam 7th. Cyrus McGee 8th. 9th is Henry Gore, and 10th is Dominic Anthony, who unfortunately was involved in a narco braking incident. He ran to the back of somebody, and that's heavily damaged the 40. So expect him to fall back a little bit too. Green flag. And of course the 01 car back there as well. He's not on the lead lap. And obviously he's very slow too. Now typically here at Canadian Tire, cautions usually breed cautions. So once there's one, there's usually many. So we might have an overtime finish here now. Unless for some reason this one does go caution free for the rest of this race. So it's Miller from Rogers, Pawkins still in 3rd. Tristan Allen trying to get to the inside, that is for position obviously. But obviously not going to happen yet. And I think we have another caution. No? Okay. I thought I saw yellow. But yeah, still looking at the battle here for position. Position 4. Tristan Allen. Trying to hold on to... We're trying to get by Jack Pawkins. Simon Nichols trying to hold off Isaac. And then we got the 77, the 2, the 21. The 40 is actually still inside the top 10, but he's got Chase Marks right all over the back of him. And they make contact, and they're going into the wall and around, into the wall, and that's it. A little bit of impatience there shown by Chase Marks. Oh, we got more. Someone's just teleported. I think that's Zednik Price. And yes, it is. So he's crashed along with the 25 car. I'm assuming that's triggered the caution. And it has. So Chase Marks takes out Dominic Anthony, and then behind them, these two guys crashed as well. So take a look. I won't trigger the caution. We'll show you the race back to the line because Miller is out of here again. This car's looking very strong as Pawkins runs way too deep into there. Now he's under attack. 12 car just doesn't really have as good of a, just doesn't have good enough run to get by the 04. And Pawkins will probably hold on to 3rd here by the looks of it. But yet again, it's Dawson Miller who leads us back to the green. He takes the yellow. Let's take a look what happened to trigger the caution. Now this was not what triggered the caution, but we were focusing on this at the time that it came out, and it's just a little bit of impatience from Chase Marks. He gets into the back of Dominic Anthony, who was obviously much slower, and turns him around, and that's ruined Anthony's day. He's out of the race. And then behind them, Zednik Price and Richard Fridge also wrecked. By the looks of it, in the same spot as the 95 and the 36 did earlier. So we'll take a look at that and then we'll head back to the green. Well, it's a kind of similar accident to what we saw in the first caution. And this time it was Richard Fridge who slid up into Price, and both of them, particularly the 25, took a massive hit. And thankfully he is okay. Big crash here at Canadian Tire. A bad break for both of them. And obviously it's for Chase Marks as well as Dominic Anthony. So anyways, we'll take you back to the green now. Coming back to the green this time. No pit stops this time. So Dawson Miller still holds the lead. Jake Rogers still in 2nd. Jack Pawkins, Tristan Allen, Simon Nichols still the top 5. Isaac Nichols, Lucifer Sam, Henry Gore, Reagan Whitlock has now moved his way inside the top 10, and Cyrus McGee. That's your top 10. So we're going to come back to the green. You can see who is out of the race. Everyone from Dominic Anthony down is out of the race. So the 40, the 50, the 25, the 95, the 36, and the 59 all out of the race. Jackson Lynn still a lap down. But this time it was a bit closer between the front few guys, as Rogers stayed with the 5 for a little bit, but now he's fallen off. You see Pawkins is closing in now on the 98, so the front 5 are actually pretty close to each other. And Nichols has fallen back into the clutches of the 77, but even there he's not that far off. So 98 goes a little high, Pawkins might look low. He does, he goes to the inside. That's going to allow the 5 to run away with this. As Nichols goes up into 5th. Isaac, that is. Trying to get underneath in the 98. Is Jack Pawkins. Can he do it? I don't know. No, he can't. So Rogers holds on to 2nd. But that's just allowed Dawson Miller to run away. And Isaac Nichols has just made 2 spots in the space of a straightaway. Very nice move. As now you see here, battle for position. It's a 2-car trying to get by Lucifer Sam. And this is big too. These 2 guys here, obviously, were 5 points off Jack Pawkins coming into this race. And right now are currently 8th and 9th. That's only 5 points. So they'd be about 10 and 11 back. And even then, that's not much. So great run for these 2 guys. And Dan Park, he definitely needed a good run. He's inside the top 10. Cyrus McGee has fallen out, so his car has really struggled. Unfortunately for him. But obviously still got a long way to go in this one. It's not over yet. Dawson Miller can make a mistake. Anyone could really make a mistake and might have an overtime finish. As Allen continues to drop spots in the 12. Can Rogers do something with Dawson Miller? Or Miller grab his 2nd win of the year? And considering now that Chase Marks, look at how far back he is. Marks is long way back. Right now he is 34th. There's something happened to the 72 as well. He's got heavy damage. But since now that the 31 is 34th, that would move Miller into 2nd in the points. It's big for Miller. As he's got 1 and a bit laps to go. A fair bit, obviously. But Rogers closing in a little bit again. It's under a 2nd. It's run away from Pawkins. Isaac Nichols moved his way back up to 4th. Nice recovery. Simon Nichols 5th. So both the Nichols inside the top 5 yet again. For the first time in a little while. Tristan Allen in the 12 is 6th. Henry Gore 7th, and this is a big battle here between 3 guys. Lucifer Sam, Reagan Whitlock, and Dan Park. You don't want to be on the outside where Dan Park is. He runs a little wide, but the 21 also runs a little wide. This should be good. And don't think we've had a crash yet. No cautions. 17 is way off the pace. It's reporting engine issues in that car, so see if she can make it to the finish. No wrecks yet. They're going to make it back to the white. White flag is out for Dawson Miller. And the margin at the line is just over a 2nd. So it looks like he will grab his 2nd win of the year and recover from a 2nd place last week at Michigan. Obviously in that race he lost it to the guy who's currently 2nd, Jake Rogers. And even though Pawkins, even though he's in 3rd place at the moment, he won't gain too much on 17th and 18th because they're currently, right now, in 8th and 9th. It'll be a gain for Pawkins, but it won't be much. So he will stay 16th in the chase. But how about Dawson Miller today? He's led every lap up to this point. He's made no mistakes. And from the get-go, he's just dominated. We got the final few turns coming up. Coming through the final couple of turns. And he's going to grab his second win of the year. And Dawson Miller moves to second in the points with a win here at Canadian Tire. Rogers from Pawkins, Nichols and Nichols, top 5 finish. Reagan Whitlock edges out Tristan Allen. For position, someone crashed. 2 cars crashed again. I can't tell who they were. It's 2 very dark cars. Dan Park is one of them. The 41. And I can't tell who the other one is. It's another black car. I can't tell who that is. Is that Alonso? That's Alonso. And those two are battling for a top 10 finish. They crashed. That's bad news for them, but Dawson Miller grabs his second win of the year, becomes the 3rd driver to get multiple wins. And yes, the 17 did blow up at the end. 78 had an issue. Everything's gone on the final lap. 17 just trying to make it back and finish the race. This race is not official yet, actually. And I don't know where the 37 is. I think those two have actually gone. But there's your winner. It's Dawson Miller getting the victory for the 2nd time this season. We'll take a look at what happened to Hedgel, Alvin Alonso and Dan Park right now. Well, here's what happened coming to the checkered. This is a battle for 10th. Cyrus McGee gets around Dan Park. Alonso slides in. That's a massive hit. He nearly got the concrete. And the worst part for me about that one, from just what I've seen, and I think they've already vanished back to the pit road, is that Alonso, he didn't look like he ever lifted. So that's a bit concerning there. And obviously Dan Park, that's probably the biggest crash we've seen today, actually. As if he hit the concrete, that would have been a lot worse, but he didn't, thankfully, so tyres did their job. Something happened to the 78 as well, not sure what, but it wasn't a crash or anything. It might have been a pit road visit for whatever reason, because I know Landon Hicks had to come down the pit road. So that's going to hurt Hicks too, so he's going to fall back to about 15th in points after coming into today as 11th. But there's your winner, Dawson Miller, getting his 2nd win of the year. So congratulations to him, and we'll see you guys next time at Daytona.